Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her desk in the SETI Institute, her eyes fixed on the computer screen. It was just another quiet night shift, or so she thought. The soft hum of equipment filled the room as she sipped her coffee, watching the usual streams of data flow by. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the speakers. Sarah jumped, nearly spilling her drink. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she checked the readings. What she saw made her heart race. "This can't be right," she muttered, double-checking the data. But there was no mistake. The computers had detected an unusual signal from deep space, unlike anything they had seen before. Sarah grabbed her phone and dialed her supervisor, Dr. James Thompson. "James, you need to see this," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Within an hour, the SETI Institute was buzzing with activity. Scientists from various departments huddled around screens, analyzing the mysterious signal. Dr. Thompson stood at the center, his face a mix of confusion and awe. "It's definitely artificial," he announced to the room. "And it's coming from just beyond our solar system." The news spread like wildfire. By morning, every major news outlet was reporting on the strange signal from space. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Was this first contact? A message from an alien civilization? As the world waited for answers, a team of cryptographers worked tirelessly to decode the signal. Days passed with little progress until Dr. Chen made a breakthrough. "It's not a message," she explained to her colleagues. "It's a distress call." The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Not only had they detected signs of alien life, but these aliens were in trouble and asking for help. World leaders scrambled to respond. The United Nations called an emergency session to discuss the situation. In Washington, D.C., the president met with top military officials and scientists to formulate a plan. Meanwhile, astronomers around the globe pointed their most powerful telescopes towards the signal's origin. What they saw astonished them: a massive fleet of alien ships adrift in space. Dr. Chen and her team worked day and night to learn more about the stranded aliens. They managed to establish basic communication, learning that the fleet's propulsion systems had failed, leaving them helpless in the face of an approaching cosmic storm. The world watched and waited as governments debated what to do. Some argued for caution, fearing the aliens might pose a threat. Others pushed for immediate action, seeing this as humanity's chance to prove itself on the galactic stage. In the end, the decision was made. Humanity would attempt its first interstellar rescue mission. Space agencies from around the world pooled their resources. Engineers worked at breakneck speeds to modify existing spacecraft for the long journey. Volunteers from various fields, pilots, engineers, linguists, and more, stepped forward to join the mission. As preparations continued, Dr. Chen found herself appointed as the mission's chief science officer. Her expertise in alien communication made her invaluable to the team. The day of the launch arrived. Millions watched as the rescue ship, aptly named Horizon, lifted off from Cape Canaveral. Dr. Chen felt a mix of excitement and fear as the G-forces pushed her back into her seat. They were making history, venturing further into space than any human had gone before. As Earth shrank to a pale blue dot behind them, the crew of the Horizon steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. They carried with them the hopes and dreams of their entire species. Unknown to them, their actions in the coming days would not only save an alien civilization, but also catapult humanity onto the galactic stage. The age of Earth's isolation was coming to an end, and a new chapter in human history was about to begin. The Horizon continued its journey into the depths of space, carrying its brave crew towards an encounter that would change the course of human history forever. The Horizon sped through the vast emptiness of space, its crew a mix of excitement and nervousness. Dr. Sarah Chen spent most of her time in the ship's communication center, preparing for the moment they would make contact with the alien fleet. After weeks of travel, Captain Mike Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "We're approaching the coordinates of the alien fleet. All hands to stations." The crew rushed to their positions. Dr. Chen felt her heart racing as she took her seat at the communication console. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. As they neared the location, the alien fleet came into view. Gasps of awe filled the horizon's bridge. Dozens of massive ships, each larger than anything humans had ever built, floated silently in space. Their sleek, otherworldly design spoke of technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez. "They're incredible." Dr. Chen nodded in agreement, then focused on her task. "I'm broadcasting our greeting message now," she announced. Minutes ticked by intense silence. Then, suddenly, a response came through. Strange symbols flashed across Dr. Chen's screen. "We've got contact," she exclaimed. The crew cheered, but Dr. Chen quickly raised a hand for silence. "Now comes the hard part. We need to establish a common language." Over the next few hours, Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly to decipher the alien messages. They used advanced AI programs and linguistic algorithms, slowly building a basic understanding. Finally, Dr. Chen looked up from her console, her eyes wide with excitement. "I think we've got it. They're asking for help." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "All right, let's bring us in closer. Prepare for docking procedures." As the horizon approached the largest alien ship, the crew marveled at its size. It dwarfed their vessel, making the horizon look like a toy in comparison. The docking process was tense. Human technology had to adapt to the alien systems, a task that pushed the engineers to their limits. But finally, with a soft thud, the two ships connected. Dr. Chen joined Captain Rodriguez and a small team at the airlock. They wore special suits designed to protect them from unknown alien environments. As the door slowly opened, they held their breath. The first thing they noticed was the difference in gravity. It was lighter than Earth's, causing them to move with an awkward bounce. The air, when tested, was breathable, but had a strange, sweet scent. And then they saw them. The aliens. They were tall, easily 7 feet, with slender bodies covered in iridescent scales. Their large, multifaceted eyes regarded the humans with what seemed like curiosity. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her heart pounding. She raised her hand in a gesture of peace and spoke the greeting they had prepared. To everyone's surprise, one of the aliens stepped forward and mimicked the gesture. It then spoke, its voice a melodious trill that the translation software struggled to keep up with. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the translation came through. "We are the Zarkin. We thank you for answering our call." Over the next few hours, the human team learned more about the Zarkin's predicament. Their advanced propulsion systems had been damaged by a strange cosmic anomaly, leaving them stranded and vulnerable to an approaching cosmic storm. Despite their clear technological superiority, the Zarkin humbly asked for Earth's help. This surprised the humans, who had expected a more arrogant attitude from such an advanced species. As they talked, Dr. Chen noticed something interesting. The Zarkin seemed fascinated by human behavior and thinking. They asked questions about how humans had solved certain problems, showing genuine interest in Earth's history and culture. When Captain Rodriguez offered Earth's full support in repairing their fleet, the Zarkin leader expressed deep gratitude. "Your species is young," it said, "but your willingness to help strangers is admirable. Perhaps you have much to teach us." As the initial meeting concluded, both species felt a sense of hope. The humans were excited about the potential for cultural and technological exchange. The Zarkin were relieved to have found allies in their time of need. But as Dr. Chen and her team returned to the horizon to report their findings, they knew the real challenges were just beginning. They had a fleet of massive alien ships to repair, a cosmic storm to outrun, and countless cultural barriers to overcome. The greatest adventure in human history had only just begun. As the human crew of the Horizon settled into their new routine alongside the Zarkin fleet, Dr. Sarah Chen found herself spending more and more time with the alien scientists. They had set up a joint research station in one of the larger Zarkin ships, where both species worked together to understand the threat they faced. One day, as Sarah was examining some data on her tablet, a Zarkin scientist named Zillow approached her. Its iridescent scales shimmered under the ship's lights as it spoke. "Dr. Chen, we have discovered something troubling," Zillow said, its voice translated through Sarah's earpiece. "The cosmic anomaly that disabled our propulsion systems. It's not a natural phenomenon." Sarah's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Zillow led her to a large holographic display. With a wave of its slender hand, it brought up a 3D model of the solar system and the surrounding space. "Look here," it said, pointing to a swirling mass of energy beyond Pluto's orbit. "This is the anomaly. We've analyzed its structure, and it shows signs of artificial creation." Sarah stared at the display, her mind racing. "Are you saying someone made this? But who? And why?" Before Zillow could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom, tension evident in his tone. "All personnel report to emergency stations. We've detected a massive energy surge heading our way." Sarah and Zillow rushed to the bridge, joining Captain Rodriguez and the Zarkin fleet commander, Titar. The main screen showed a terrifying sight, a wall of swirling, crackling energy stretching as far as the eye could see, moving steadily towards them. "It's the cosmic storm," XRL explained, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the chaotic energy on the screen. "But it's approaching much faster than we anticipated." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "How long do we have?" Captain Rodriguez turned to her, his face grim. "At its current speed, less than 72 hours. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Human and Zarkin scientists worked side by side, analyzing data and running simulations. Engineers from both species frantically tried to repair the damaged propulsion systems. As Sarah pored over the latest readings, she noticed something odd. "Wait a minute," she muttered, double-checking her calculations. "This doesn't make sense." She called Zillow over and explained her findings. The Zarkin scientist's eyes widened as it realized the implications. Together, they rushed to inform the commanders. In the strategy room, Sarah took a deep breath before addressing the group. "We've discovered something crucial," she began. "The cosmic storm isn't just a threat to us. If it continues on its current path, it will reach Earth in less than a week." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Captain Rodriguez raised a hand for silence. "Are you certain?" Sarah nodded gravely. "The data is clear. This storm has the power to devastate entire planets. If it reaches Earth..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood the catastrophic implications. Zarl stepped forward, its voice solemn. "Then our mission has changed. We're no longer just saving ourselves. We're racing to save your homeworld." The mood in the room shifted. The human crew, who had come to rescue the Zarkin, now found themselves depending on the aliens to help save Earth. It was a stark reminder of how interconnected their fates had become. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah found herself standing next to Zillow, both staring out a viewport at the stars. "I never imagined my first journey into deep space would involve trying to save my entire planet," Sarah said quietly. Zillow placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, a gesture it had learned from observing the humans. "Your species has shown great courage in coming to our aid," it said. "Now, we will stand with you to protect your home." Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. She knew the next 72 hours would be crucial. They needed to repair the fleet, unravel the mystery of the artificial anomaly, and find a way to stop or deflect the cosmic storm. As she walked back to the research lab, Sarah couldn't help but think about how much had changed in such a short time. Humanity had dreamed of making contact with alien life for centuries. Now, not only had they met the Zarkin, but they were working together to face a threat beyond anything they had imagined. The greatest challenge in human history lay ahead, and the clock was ticking. The joint human-Zarkin fleet buzzed with activity. Time was running out, and everyone knew it. In the main engineering bay of the Zarkin mothership, Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Captain Rodriguez, both staring at the massive alien propulsion drive. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Sarah muttered, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and frustration. Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. "And we need to fix it in less than 70 hours. Just then, a young human engineer named Alex Kumar rushed up to them, excitement clear on his face. "Captain, Dr. Chen, I think I've found something." Alex led them to a workstation where he had been analyzing the Zarkin technology. He pulled up a holographic display showing the inner workings of the alien drive. "Look here," he said, pointing to a specific component. "The Zarkin use a type of exotic matter to power their drives, but the cosmic anomaly disrupted its stability." Sarah leaned in, her scientific curiosity piqued. "So how do we fix it?" Alex grinned. "That's the brilliant part. We can't recreate their exotic matter, but we can stabilize it using a modified version of our own antimatter containment fields." Captain Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "We barely have antimatter containment working on Earth. How are we supposed to modify it here?" "That's where human ingenuity comes in," Alex said confidently. "We may not have the Zarkin's advanced technology, but we have something they don't: the ability to think outside the box." Over the next few hours, Alex explained his plan to the Zarkin engineers. At first, the aliens were skeptical. Their technology was far more advanced. How could these primitive humans possibly improve it? But as Alex walked them through his ideas, using simple Earth materials to create makeshift models, the Zarkin began to see the potential. They were particularly impressed by the humans' ability to repurpose seemingly unrelated technologies to solve new problems. Xylo, the Zarkin scientist, who had been working closely with Sarah, approached her during a break. "Your people continue to surprise us, Dr. Chen," it said. "We would never have thought to use your antimatter techniques in this way." Sarah smiled proudly. "That's the beauty of human ingenuity, Xylo. We've always had to make do with less, so we've learned to be creative." With the plan in place, both human and Zarkin crews set to work. The Horizon's antimatter containment systems were carefully dismantled and modified. Zarkin engineers, guided by Alex and his team, began integrating the human technology into their own systems. It wasn't an easy process. There were setbacks and moments of frustration. More than once, an attempted integration resulted in showers of sparks and blaring alarms. But each time, the combined team regrouped, analyzed the problem, and came up with a new solution. As the hours ticked by, Sarah found herself working alongside Xylo, adapting the Zarkin's complex mathematical models to account for the human modifications. She was amazed at how quickly they were learning to work together, each species complementing the other's strengths. Halfway through the second day, they hit a major snag. The human modifications were working, but they were putting too much strain on the Zarkin power systems. It seemed like they had reached a dead end. But then, in a moment of inspiration, Sarah remembered something from her early days at university. "Wait," she said, her eyes lighting up. "What if we use a resonance frequency to amplify the power output?" Xylo tilted its head, considering. "That could work. But how would we calculate the correct frequency?" Sarah grinned. "Leave that to me." For the next few hours, Sarah worked furiously, scribbling equations on any surface she could find. She combined Earth physics with what she had learned of Zarkin science, creating a hybrid theory that bridged the gap between their technologies. When she finally presented her findings to the engineering team, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then, slowly, the Zarkin began to nod in understanding and appreciation. "This is remarkable, Karel," the Zarkin fleet commander said. "We would never have conceived of such a solution." With renewed energy, the team set to work implementing Sarah's calculations. As the final hours of their deadline approached, the modified drive hummed to life. The ship's systems lit up, power flowing smoothly through the hybrid human Zarkin technology. Captain Rodriguez placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, his voice filled with pride. "You did it, Doctor. You all did it." As the news spread through the fleet, cheers erupted from both humans and Zarkin alike. They had done the impossible, combining two vastly different technologies to create something entirely new. Sarah stood in the engine room, watching humans and aliens working side by side, and felt a surge of hope. They still faced a terrifying cosmic storm and an unknown enemy who had created the anomaly. But now, they faced it together, their strengths combined. Human ingenuity had shone through, not by overpowering the alien technology, but by adapting, innovating, and collaborating. As they prepared for the challenges ahead, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning of what humans and Zarkin could accomplish together. The combined human-Zarkin fleet hummed with nervous energy. Their newly repaired engines were operational, but they weren't out of danger yet. The cosmic storm was rapidly approaching, its swirling mass of destructive energy growing larger on their view screens with each passing hour. On the bridge of the Zarkin mothership, Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Captain Rodriguez and the Zarkin fleet commander, Sauril. They watched as the storm's leading edge crackled with bolts of energy that dwarfed lightning strikes. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with tension. Zaril's multifaceted eyes flickered as it consulted its data. "At current speed, the storm will reach us in approximately 6 hours. Captain Rodriguez's jaw clenched. "That doesn't give us much time to evacuate the entire fleet. We can't outrun it," Zaril added. "Even with our repaired engines, the storm is too fast." Sarah's mind raced. They needed a plan, and fast. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "What if we don't try to outrun it?" she said. "What if we go through it instead?" Both the human and Zarkin leaders looked at her in surprise. "Through it?" Rodriguez asked incredulously. "Is that even possible?" Sarah quickly explained her theory. By using the combined power of the entire fleet, they might be able to create a protective bubble strong enough to withstand the storm's energy. It was risky, but it might be their only chance. As the leaders debated the plan, alarms blared throughout the ship. Xylo, the Zarkin scientist, rushed onto the bridge, its scales shimmering with agitation. "The storm's speed has increased," it announced. "New estimate puts it reaching us in 4 hours." The news sent a wave of panic through the crew. But Sarah noticed something else in Xylo's demeanor. "There's more, isn't there?" she asked. Xylo nodded gravely. "We've detected a massive object at the heart of the storm. We believe it's the source of the anomaly that disabled our fleet." This revelation changed everything. Not only did they have to survive the storm, but they might also face whoever or whatever had created it. With time running out, the leaders agreed to Sarah's plan. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Human and Zarkin engineers worked side by side, reconfiguring the fleet's energy systems to create the protective bubble. Sarah found herself working with Xylo, using their combined knowledge of physics to calculate the exact frequency needed to harmonize the ship's shields. The work was intricate and exhausting, but neither of them dared to take a break. As the storm drew nearer, Captain Rodriguez coordinated with the other ship captains, positioning the fleet in a tight formation. The smaller ships huddled close to the larger ones, all of them linking their energy systems in preparation for the coming ordeal. With just 30 minutes to spare, Sarah and Xylo finally cracked the equation. They rushed to implement the changes, their fingers flying over control panels as they input the final calculations. "Energy synchronization complete," Xylo announced, its voice tinged with both relief and apprehension. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Now we just have to hope it's enough." As the cosmic storm bore down on them, Captain Rodriguez gave the order. "Activate the shield." A shimmering energy field sprang to life around the fleet, its surface rippling like water. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the storm hit. The impact was tremendous. The ships shuddered as waves of energy crashed against their protective bubble. Inside, crew members clung to their stations, fighting to keep the fleet's systems operational. Sarah watched the readouts with growing concern. The shield was holding, but just barely. Cracks were starting to form in its energy matrix. "We need more power," she shouted over the din. Zarl responded immediately, redirecting energy from non-essential systems. Human engineers came up with quick, creative solutions to boost power output, their ingenuity shining even in this moment of crisis. As they pushed deeper into the storm, the turbulence grew worse. Ships were tossed about like leaves in a gale, their hulls groaning under the strain. But still, they pressed on. Suddenly, a massive bolt of energy struck the shield, causing it to flicker dangerously. Alarms blared as systems overloaded. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed like the shield would fail. But then, something unexpected happened. The human and Zarkin crew members, working in perfect unison, managed to stabilize the shield. Their combined efforts, born from hours of cooperation and mutual trust, gave them the strength to overcome the storm's fury. As they fought their way through the chaos, Sarah caught a glimpse of something through a brief break in the storm. A massive structure, alien in design, floated at the heart of the tempest. "There," she pointed. "That must be the source of the anomaly." Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Then that's where we're heading. Hold on, everyone. We're not out of this yet." As the fleet pushed towards the mysterious structure, Sarah realized that surviving the storm was just the beginning. The true test of their newfound alliance was yet to come. But looking around at the determined faces of both humans and Zarkin working together, she felt a surge of hope. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them united. The human Zarkin fleet emerged from the heart of the cosmic storm, their ships battered but intact. As the last wisps of the tempest fell away, a collective gasp echoed through the communication channels. Before them loomed a massive structure, easily the size of a small moon, its surface a maze of gleaming metal and pulsing energy. On the bridge of the Zarkin mothership, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the alien megastructure in awe. "It's incredible," she breathed. Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. "And likely very dangerous. Any ideas on what we're dealing with, Taro?" The Zarkin commander's multifaceted eyes flickered as it studied the readouts. "It appears to be some kind of energy collection device. It's harvesting power from the cosmic storm it created." Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. Xylo, the Zarkin scientist, called out in alarm. "We're being scanned. The structure is powering up its weapons systems." Captain Rodriguez's voice rang out over the intercom. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Prepare for possible hostile engagement." As the fleet scattered, trying to present a harder target, Sarah's mind raced. They couldn't fight this thing. It was too powerful. They needed another solution, and fast. An idea struck her. "Wait," she called out. "The anomaly that disabled the Zarkin ships. It must have been a side effect of this structure's energy collection. If we can disrupt that process." Zillow caught on quickly. "We might be able to create a feedback loop in its systems." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. As the rest of the fleet ran interference, dodging energy beams from the structure, Sarah and Xylo worked furiously to modify one of the smaller Zarkin ships. They repurposed the antimatter containment field they had used to repair the engines, turning it into a makeshift energy pulse device. "It's ready," Sarah announced, her voice tense with anticipation. "But we'll need to get close to the structure's main energy intake to use it." Captain Rodriguez exchanged a look with Xarel. The Zarkin commander nodded solemnly. "I will pilot the ship myself," it declared. As Xarel prepared for the dangerous mission, the rest of the fleet engaged in a daring dance with the megastructure's defenses. Human pilots, known for their unconventional tactics, flew circles around the energy beams, drawing fire away from the Zarkin ships. The aliens, in turn, used their advanced shielding technology to protect their human allies. Sarah watched from the mothership as Sarl's small craft darted towards the structure, weaving through a barrage of energy blasts. Her heart pounded as the ship drew closer and closer to its target. Just as it seemed Sarl would reach the energy intake, a massive beam lanced out from the structure. Time seemed to slow as Sarah watched the energy blast hurtle towards the small ship. But then, at the last possible second, a human fighter craft piloted by Alex Kumar, the young engineer who had helped repair the Zarkin engines, swooped in. His ship took the hit meant for Sarl, exploding in a brilliant flash of light. Zarl's voice crackled over the comm, filled with a mix of grief and determination. The human sacrifice will not be in vain. Activating the pulse now. A blinding flash erupted from Sarl's ship as it released the energy pulse directly into the structure's intake. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering speed, arcs of wild energy began to dance across the surface of the megastructure. "It's working," Xylo exclaimed. "The structure's systems are overloading." Captain Rodriguez's voice boomed over the intercom. "All ships, prepare for immediate jump to light speed. We're getting out of here." As the fleet began to move away, the structure behind them started to break apart. Massive chunks of alien metal tumbled through space, energy discharges arcing between them. Sarah held her breath as she watched Sarl's ship race back towards the fleet, energy beams from the disintegrating structure narrowly missing it. At the last moment, the small craft slipped into the mothership's hangar bay. "Sarl is aboard," Sarah shouted. "We're all accounted for." With a final burst of speed, the human Zarkin fleet leaped to light speed, leaving behind the exploding remains of the mysterious megastructure. As the adrenaline of their escape began to fade, a somber mood settled over the fleet. They had survived, but at a cost. The sacrifice of Alex Kumar and other brave crew members weighed heavily on everyone's minds. In the quiet of the mothership's observation deck, Sarah stood with Xylo and Sarl, watching the streaks of stars rush by. "We did it," Sarah said softly. "We actually did it." Sarl placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture it had learned from the humans. "Thanks to the bravery and ingenuity of both our peoples," it said solemnly. Xylo nodded in agreement. "We faced an enemy that nearly destroyed us both, and together we emerged victorious." As they stood there, contemplating their narrow escape and the bonds forged in the face of adversity, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of hope for the future. The journey wasn't over. Earth still needed to be warned about the remnants of the cosmic storm. But she knew that together, humans and Zarkin could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The great escape was complete, but their greatest adventure was just beginning. The joint human Zarkin fleet dropped out of light speed on the outskirts of Earth's solar system. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the ships as the familiar sight of the Milky Way came into view. They had made it home. On the bridge of the Zarkin mothership, Dr. Sarah Chen stood alongside Captain Rodriguez and Sarl, the Zarkin fleet commander. Earth shone like a blue jewel in the distance, peaceful and unaware of the danger it had narrowly escaped. "We need to warn them about the remnants of the cosmic storm," Sarah said, her voice tinged with urgency. Captain Rodriguez nodded. "I've already sent a message to Mission Control. They're scrambling to prepare for our arrival. And for our new friends." As they approached Earth, the fleet was met by a swarm of satellites and space stations. News of their return, and of the alien ships accompanying them, had spread quickly. The whole world was watching. The Zarkin ships, with their sleek, otherworldly designs, caused a stir as they entered Earth's orbit. Social media exploded with images and videos of the alien fleet, and governments around the world scrambled to respond to this unprecedented situation. As the Horizon and the Zarkin mothership prepared to land, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. How would Earth react to the Zarkin? Would they understand the incredible journey they had been through together? The landing site was a flurry of activity. World leaders, scientists, and military personnel had gathered to witness this historic moment. As the ships touched down, a hush fell over the crowd. The airlock of the Horizon opened first. Captain Rodriguez stepped out, followed by Sarah and the rest of the human crew. They were met with cheers and applause from the assembled crowd. Then, the Zarkin ship opened. Taural emerged, its iridescent scales shimmering in the sunlight. Xylo and other Zarkin followed, their alien forms causing a ripple of awe through the onlookers. For a moment, there was silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, a little girl broke free from the crowd and ran towards the Zarkin. Before anyone could stop her, she reached Axaril and held out her hand in greeting. Xaril, remembering the human gesture it had learned, gently shook the girl's hand. The tension broke, and applause erupted from the crowd. In the days that followed, Sarah found herself thrust into the role of ambassador, explaining the incredible journey they had been through and the bond that had formed between humans and Zarkin. World leaders listened in amazement as she recounted how human ingenuity had helped repair the advanced Zarkin ships and how the aliens' technology had saved them from the cosmic storm. The story of their battle against the mysterious megastructure and their narrow escape captivated audiences around the globe. But it was the tale of cooperation and mutual respect between the two species that truly resonated. People were inspired by how humans and Zarkin had overcome their differences to face a common threat. As the initial excitement settled, the real work began. The Zarkin, grateful for Earth's help, offered to share some of their advanced technology. Scientists from both species began collaborative projects, exploring new frontiers in physics, medicine, and space travel. One afternoon, Sarah stood with Xylo in a new joint research facility, watching human and Zarkin scientists work side by side. "I never imagined this when we first answered your distress call," Sarah said, smiling at her alien friend. Xylo's multifaceted eyes sparkled with what Sarah had learned was amusement. "Nor did we imagine finding such valuable allies when our ships were stranded," it replied. Their conversation was interrupted by an excited shout from one of the research teams. A breakthrough had been made in developing a defense system against cosmic storms, combining Zarkin energy manipulation techniques with human-computer algorithms. As Sarah watched the humans and Zarkin celebrate together, she felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The journey had been perilous, but it had led to something extraordinary, a partnership that promised to propel both species to new heights. In the months that followed, the effects of this new alliance rippled across Earth. The knowledge that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that they had proven themselves worthy allies to an advanced alien species, inspired a new age of exploration and innovation. Space programs around the world received unprecedented funding and support. The first joint human-Zarkin space mission was launched, aimed at exploring the far reaches of the galaxy. But perhaps the most profound change was in how humanity viewed itself. The realization that they had something valuable to offer, even to a technologically superior species, filled people with a new sense of purpose and pride. As Sarah prepared for her next mission, this time as the commander of a joint human-Zarkin exploration vessel, she reflected on how far they had come. From a desperate rescue mission to a galactic partnership, their adventure had opened up a universe of possibilities. The age of Earth's isolation was over. A new era of cooperation had begun, and the stars themselves were the limit.